Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Purana Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpade, Gopisha, Gopi Kanta, Radha.
Janalan is one question about if you can talk about the Kali Chela.
Well, a Kali Chela is a term that Bhaktivinoda put in a song. Kali Chela. Chela means disciple. And Kali means the age. So who is a disciple of the age of Kali? Well, he's saying there'll be many Kali Chelas. Now, these Kali Chelas, you could actually look and go, yes, they weren't working for Mossad. Like some people in ISKCON figured that because Jews were joining, that Mossad, right? Mossad's Israeli, right? That the Israelis sent people into ISKCON to destroy it because it was such a threat, right? Well, I don't think so. And the proof of that is when they finally have finished their job and retire, they don't marry a Protestant girl and live in Alachua. If Mossad sends someone to disrupt your worldwide organization, when their job is over, they go back to Israel, they have a completely different name, they marry a nice Jewish girl, and they live in Golan Heights somewhere. And they go to the mosque. They don't then retire and live in Alachua, Florida, and go to the local Hare Krishna temple Sunday feast. Just to keep an eye on things, you know, with a Protestant wife. Right. What a joke. What a joke. You know, it's like, oh yeah, right. So devotees haven't thought this through very well. But that, rather than becoming pure devotees or remaining in the path of pure devotion, they became victims of Kali and became the instruments of Kali, Kali Chela. And there seems to have been quite a few. They ruined the movement. First thing was usurp Prabhupada's position. They wanted a chair like his. They needed lions, you know. They needed gold guild. They needed opulent living. They needed fancy cars. All this stuff which they needed, none of it actually. Almost none of it. Some people even started wearing glasses when they didn't wear glasses, just so they would look like Prabhupada. Everybody walking with a cane. I mean, everybody, 29, 33, 35-year-old men walking with a cane. What are you doing with a cane? You crippled? What? Prabhupada had a cane. You know, Elvis silks, it's just usurping the position. Then the title, everybody had to be a pod. Everybody had to be a pod. Prabhupada, Vishnupad, Tirthapad. There was one or two Guru days, but everybody had to have a pod. What is that? It's imitation. That's usurping. Then telling you, oh, now you're my disciple, not Prabhupada's disciple. What is that? Stealing the disciples of Prabhupada. Oh, even some gurus wanted to move into Prabhupada's room. They wanted to live in his room in Bombay. The Acharya there, he wanted to live in Prabhupada's room. So they built him a special room on the side to preserve that. I mean, it was just crazy, every level going on. Usurping the power. Made all the other GBCs nothing. They were eunuchs. They were nothing. They had no power at all. They just voted and said whatever the guru said, that's what they did. But after like half a dozen of these gurus showed that, well, hey, this doesn't seem to be the real deal, then they came up with the idea that when the GBC meets, the collective group of the GBC becomes Prabhupada. Still trying to usurp his position. But that, they were just hanging on to power. There's a history of why they are what they are and why they say what they say. Recently, what did Hridayananda Maharaj say? What was the thing?
Jiva? Oh, no.
There was two things. One was the Jiva, one was Sridhar Maharaj, you know. Trying to blame Sridhar Maharaj, you know. And then he tried to word his way out of it by saying, Sridhar Maharaj said the Guru was the highest authority, but we knew that Prabhupada said the GBC is the highest authority. Yep, understand? So there are no lawyers out there who really know. The ones that are out there either don't care about ISKCON, or there's someone like me. And I go, wait a minute. What do you mean you know the GBC is the highest authority? Because there's this about a 5-year, 4-year period where the GBC is nothing. So when did you know that Prabhupada said that the GBC is the highest authority? Because the Guru was the highest authority. And after you all fell down to keep control of power, then you decided that, oh, well, actually the GBC is the highest authority. And just breathed life back into these half a dozen or a dozen GBCs who had no authority. And they were like, yeah, that works. In other words, what do you mean you know? And then by authority, we see that Prabhupada's the highest authority, means the Guru is the highest authority. The Parampara doesn't list GBCs. It lists Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa. It goes down through a Parampara. It's not like they never had any management before, you know. And technically, he said they're the, what was the word? The authority on, managerial authority. And he sometimes fired them all and said, you're all nothing. Go home. Go preach. Twice he completely scraped the GBC like erased the blackboard. What's that mean? Highest authority is Guru, not any voting committee and everything. So he was trying to pull that number, and of course amongst the people who don't know the history, think, oh yes, the highest authority, the highest authority. That's why I say they are covered Ritviks. They are covered Ritviks. Because they're saying there's some authority for the disciple superior to his guru or her guru. And they're saying that's the GBC. So Sri Rama said, no amount of darkness produces light. No amount of ignorance produces knowledge. These are fallible people. And what decisions? Okay, when you meet, this body represents Prabhupada. So all those mistakes over the last 40 years, these are Prabhupada's mistakes? Mistakes that you yourself have apologized for? You're admitting that this is just hypocrisy. This is just manipulation of devotees. There's nobody, even there's people out there, no, man, we didn't fall from the spiritual Leela of Krishna. But the rule is, you can believe it, but you can't preach it. You have to, if you want to preach about the Jiva, you have to say, we fell from the spiritual world. Remember, books are the basis. Preaching is the essence. Prabhupada never said it once. He heard it and just went, that's it, Then they're doing Mayapur. Prabhupada said, we have recordings, what Sridhar Maharaj says, what books, nothing. Bhavananda said, Prabhupada said, Astashaki. That replaces everything, Astashaki. They lost the plot. The whole plot. And they're just winging it. And now they're going to spend $200 million to prove the world is flat. Should send them the tennis shoes. They'll probably show a picture. See, the world is flat because our shoes are flat. If the world wasn't flat, shoemakers would make rounded shoes. World is flat. Now they're probably going to have to show how the cowherd boys are all sitting around. They're all having lunch with Krishna. No, they've been there forever. They've been there having lunch with Krishna since eternity began, which is beyond forever. And then one cowherd boy goes, God, I'm still hungry. And he looks over at Krishna's plate and goes, gee. And Krishna just looks at him and goes, you envious dog. You pig. You just get the hell out of here and go down to the material world and eat shit. Go now. I'm sorry. That won't matter. Go. That's what they want to say. They're probably going to show that in some digital thing. How Krishna's eternal friends or eternal lovers or eternal mothers and fathers became envious. You know, here's what I say. Because they're thinking boys can get envious of each other, right? How does, that's sakiras, right? Friendship. How does a gopi become envious of Krishna? A cowherd boy, right? He's hungry, he sees the ladu, he wants to eat that ladu, right? Okay, he wants to eat Krishna's ladu. How does a gopi become envious of Krishna? There are no, what do you call them? Dykes, what do you call them?
Lesbians.
Lesbians. There are no lesbians in the spiritual world. So what is he talking about? I say, well, Krishna is kissing a gopi. So if another gopi wants to be envious of Krishna, that means she wants to kiss the gopi. How does that work? Well, that doesn't work, right? Okay, Mother Yasoda. Mother Yasoda breastfeeds Krishna. So how does an elderly woman become envious of Krishna? The elderly woman in the village wants to suckle the breast of Mother Yasoda. So your envy of Krishna only really works, theoretically, amongst friends. Boys becoming, and that's the example they give. You were having lunch with Krishna and you became envious of what he had to eat. It's nothing worth repeating the story. And he sent you to this material world where you've been here for millions of years trying to find your way home. What? Rather, the real story is Madhu Mangal, he's having lunch with Krishna, and he has an insatiable appetite for ladus. And Krishna, from his plate, has an infinite amount of ladus. And he's always flicking them over. Madhu Mangal is just gulping them right out the air. They're snatching them and eating them, right? But one day, Krishna toys with him. You've had enough ladus. I'm not giving you anything. Then Madhu Mangal said, well, yeah. But if the ladies give you ladus because of your dress. They're attracted by your dress. If I had that dress, I could get more ladus. You're nobody special. It's your dress. So then Krishna says, okay, here. And they change clothes. So Madhu Mangal thinks, this is great. And he makes a beeline for the village. He's got the yellow dhoti and the bullhorn, the flute. He's got his paraphernalia. And he's making it to the village where he can then fool the ladies and just get ladus. Right? But at the same time, Kamsa is sending Denakasura, the ass demon, horse demon. And he's sending Denakasura to Vrindavan to kill Krishna. So the demon says, how do I know which one of the boys is Krishna? He says, well, you'll recognize him. He wears a yellow dhoti. He's got a peacock feather. He's got a flute in his mouth. So the horse comes charging into Vrindavan. And who does he see? Madhu Mangal hustling towards the village to get ladus. So he rushes towards him and he spins around the horse and he gives a kick. And some stories say he hit him in the chest. Some stories say just the wind blew Madhu Mangal back about 10 or 15 meters into the dust. And he saw this horse and he goes, oh God. And he turned around and he ran back to Krishna and he goes, here, you can have it. It's not worth it, really. I tell you, this is more trouble than it's worth. Then Krishna puts back on his own clothes and he goes and kills that demon. And all the boys are enjoying the pastimes with Krishna. But there's the example of someone wanting to eat what's on Krishna's plate. It's just absolutely beyond ridiculous. And philosophically, it plays into the hand of every Mayavadi there ever was. That even if there is a Goloka, it's not infallible. Envy enters there. But in Brahman, there is no envy. Yeah. It's admission that the spiritual world is fallible. You follow? Fallible. You can fall down from there. Then we fast forward the play, and Ishwar goes back to the spiritual world. Man, that was a long journey. A long time ago, right? And down the material world, all these things. Yeah, I'm back now. Krishna says, yeah, once you come back, you never go again. So, whoo! I'm ready, I'm here. And then he goes, have you ever, like, kind of like, what happened to me? Have you ever, like, no. And Ishwar goes, well, aren't you a little concerned? That could happen at any day. But me, I already did it. I'm back. Krishna says, once you return, you never go back to the material world. So I'm good. I'm never going to... But it could happen to you at any day. Why don't you just do it and get it over with? How do you live with, today it's lunchtime. Yeah, I don't know. Look, this might be my day. Then it becomes better that you just go and get it over with, because now when you get back, now it's forever. But, oh gee, you haven't fallen yet. Could happen at any day. Doesn't that bother you? And the guy gets, yeah, I'm a little nervous today. I don't know if I should go to lunch, I mean, think it through. I mean, it isn't so mystical that you can't understand anything. Tulsi, everybody. And they cite Tulsi. Tulsi comes to this world as a queen. And there's this whole drama between Vishnu and everything. And then there's curses and counter curses. And Vishnu becomes Shaligram. And Tulsi becomes the plan. And then the two are married, and the Shaligram Puja marries Tulsi. And they say that the proof that anyone can fall is Tulsi fell from the spiritual world. But this caliber of devotee, they're citing as examples how they became envious of Krishna. Just like, they don't understand anything. These are examples. So, and how is that possible? Because they called Sridhar Maharaj a Mayavadi when he explained the origin of the unit of consciousness, according to Bhaktivinoda. They called him a Mayavadi. So because of that aparad, they have now accepted that philosophy as the thing that makes their sampradaya different. And they attributed this to Prabhupada had this realization above anybody else in the history of the sampradaya. And you can't convince them otherwise, because they're forced to believe it as a result of their offenses. You might not understand the right thing. That's okay. But once you reject the right thing, you automatically accept the wrong thing. And if you do it, reject it. Not just the wrong idea, but the person who gave the idea, and Krishna and the arrangement of Krishna, you reject that. That becomes an aparad. Then you preach against other people who have the right understanding and interfere with people's face and browbeat them, like you ever seen those movies like the Joker, the guy comes over and he grabs the Joker, grabs his head and smacks it onto the table and makes the coin disappear?
The pencil.
The pencil, yeah. You ever seen that? That's what they do to people. They say, I smack their head. Now do you understand? Yeah, right, I understand. We fell. They browbeat people, intimidate people, and smash their head into the thing, yeah. And that further compounds their offense. Sridhar Maharaj said, those who interfere with the developing faith of others create the most grievous offense. And they call Sridhar Maharaj Mayavadi. They said he was envious of Prabhupada. Yeah, who is envious of Prabhupada? You invite me to that conversation. No, they don't want to talk to me. Or anybody even like me. My beard scares them away. No, it's like, yeah, it is what it is. That's what happened. And our mission is not to just browbeat that point. But as devotees, gradually, I think some of you need to know why things are the way they are, who's who did what, why, what, and where. Otherwise, why are we out here? Why are we here? Why are we here? Why aren't we in part of the Mexico City? Why are we part of Guadalajara? Why don't we go to Rath Yatra? Why? There's a reason why. And it's much deeper than most people today. They're like in the kiddie end of the pool. When you take your kids to the pool, you put them in the part that's just deep. But we're adults, and we're meant for the deep end of not the pool, but the ocean. And there's no such ocean out there for these people. It's just the kiddie end of the pool. And therefore, mosh pits and kirtan, wild dancing, all crazy. Women want to become swamis. Krishna rock, you know, sitting on the Vyasasan in shorts and everything. It's just like, my God. And then tell people we left Prabhupada. They have never made a song about Prabhupada. They have never written special mantras for Prabhupada. They have never made an Artik song for Prabhupada. And the so-called books that they wrote about Prabhupada, like the Leela Amrita, have just faded into oblivion as being like not very substantial at all. In fact, even the stories are not, a lot of them aren't true. Our mission, on the other hand, has written mantras, songs, Artik songs, and books and articles, and then stood up and defended ISKCON against the Narayanis, against Kasko Swamis, against what's his name, Pandu, against Madhvas, Narayan, a whole bunch of, they haven't done any of that. We're the ones that did. And anytime they try to defend, they get massacred. Now, we're not the only ones that know that. A lot of people in ISKCON do know that. And they're a very fragmented and divided thing. Our purpose is not to be big. It's to be right. Because it's not size that went awry. Awry means got off on the wrong track. ISKCON is big. It's always been big since about the 4th or 5th year. It was big. It's just got bigger. There are more devotees there than ever. But it's not right. It means there's so many things that are wrong, both in behavior and conception and practice. Like you see in Bombay, they'll do this, not every time, but I've seen myself many times. You're chanting the Maha Mantra and Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, in front of Radha Krishna. And as it goes, Hare Ram, they run over in front of Sita Ram. Hare Ram, 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 Hare. Then back over Hare Krishna, and then run over here. Between they have an altar in the middle with Radha Krishna, Radha Rasa Bihari, and then Sita Ram and Lakshman. And so their chanting Rama is Hare Rama. And then behind the scene, they got the Pujaris. And one's Pujari, I'm a Gaur Bhakta, Gaur Nitai Bhakta. Other Pujaris, I'm a Radha Krishna Bhakta. Other Pujaris, I'm a Ram Bhakta. My question is Bhakta, period. Is there any real Bhakta even there? This is just Hinduism. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. Can you imagine Sridhar Maharaj giving initiation to 500 people at a time? It would never happen.
No.
Never happen. Yeah. Recently, one Swami in ISKCON, Guru in Delhi, gave initiation to 400 people at a time. Now, what's 16 into 400? Well, that's a lot. He'd have been chanting on people's beads for days and days and days, right? 16 a day. If he chanted, because nobody chants more than 16 rounds there. It's just like 16, it's almost an offense to chant more. It's because 16 is the skeleton key to back the Godhead. I understand. It's the magic number, you know. Anyway, I get going on that. I feel like, what's that guy's name? Muhammad Ali. Yeah, to some of you might think, yeah, whatever. But we lived through it. We were with Srila Prabhupada. We were part of that. It had its defects. It had its problems, but it's none that he created. It was just like being around the glowing orb, and then they just buried it, and then produced this other thing and said, the glowing orb. And it's like, if you know what the glowing orb was, no, it isn't. That's not it. That's not what he said. That's not what he did. That's not what he wanted. No, it is. And you don't understand because you left him. One boy asked me once, he said, Maharaj, why don't you come up to Krishna Balaram temple? I go, no, I don't want to create a disturbance. He goes, nobody cares. This was like 20 years ago, 23 years ago. I go, nobody cares? Why should I go where nobody cares? Do you live in the street where nobody cares? Well, you might pass through the street, but you go home where your family is, where people, you love them, they love you. They're, If you said, you're going back the way, nobody cares. don't mean you don't care, your kids don't care. Why would you want to go back there? If nobody cares, So I told him, nobody cares? That's the reason I should come to the temple? I said, actually, it's smaller, but it's a lot better than what you got. Because that's all they had. Well, they left Prabhupada. But then what have they done to defeat them? All over these years, people who have attacked the Sampradaya, attacked Prabhupada, what have they done to defend it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And if somebody asked me, why are you so mean and nasty? I said, they did it. I was just a humble brahmachari like Jagat Guru Das here. Just interested in serving. In fact, like he wants to get into the gardening and everything like that, which is really good. We're going to talk about that later. I was into cleaning kitchens. I had a toolkit for cleaning kitchens, taking the stove apart. I did super jobs. Drains, things that clean, everything. I had this toolkit. I was like a roto-rooter man, the guy you call when your plumbing's all mucked up, And I went to the GBC in 1970 and I said, I want to get a van, I want to get 3 guys to work with me, and we'll travel all around America cleaning kitchens. Now, if I would have been saying, I'll go to the farms and I'll grow food, they'd have probably went, wow, that might be a good idea, But they looked at me like, whoa, traveling kitchen cleaner. So, yeah. I didn't fit in even. In the beginning when I took sannyas, after a few morning walks, actually I didn't go on morning walk. I could go on any morning walk, but I realized this is just a game. There's just some game going on in these morning walks. People trying to show the other devotees who's who. I'm on the walk with Prabhupada. So yeah, I went on a few. But I stayed back on a few and didn't go by my own choice. And just was part of the kirtan to greet Prabhupada when he come back to the temple. I once volunteered to clean the steps of the Brahmachari ashram after I took sannyas. And some other sannyasis looked at my name on the list of cleaners and just were laughing. What is this? He's cleaning. And one day, though, it's a long story short, but 2 days in a row, Prabhupada's Guru Puja was neglected. The first day was terrible. The second day, he just walked up to the Vyasasana and kept walking, went to his room. And I realized, oh, this is ridiculous. So I had like $120 to my name. That's a lot back then. And I went out and I bought $100 worth of flowers. I mean, it was so many flowers. And I was plucking, making the rose petals. I had 3 baskets like this with rose petals. I had garlands, over 20 garlands made from the best of flowers, then decoration. And during the Mangal Artik in the morning, I was, arranging flowers, and that same sannyasi who laughed about me being clean, he was like, this is what the women do, man. The women take care of flowers. What's he doing? I just ha-ha, and I just laughed. Then Prabhupada went on the morning walk, and I didn't go. And I set up everything so that when he would come back, there would be a proper Guru Puja reception. And when he came, I was at the front of the temple, which has 2 big marble lions on the steps. And he pulled up in his white ambassador, and I had first rose petals. And I was throwing, they're just trickling down red leaves on his car. And he came up out of the car, and the flowers were falling all over him, and he just smiled, and then he started towards the steps. And I was throwing like this, handfuls, and making a red carpet out of rose petals. And he's coming across, he got to the middle of the floor, and my basket went empty. And he stopped and he went, like, what now? And I had another basket already ready. And he smiled, and I took him all the way to his seat. Then he sat down. Then I gave flower garlands to everybody. The garlands were going up to here and taking them off, and this and that. And then everybody coming and throwing flowers. And when he was sitting cross-legged on the Vyasasana, the rose petals were up to here. You could not see his legs or his feet. It was like this. Right? And we're just standing right here. Pujari's right there. We're all in close, maybe about that far. No, not closer even than that. And 30 devotees behind. Everybody's really close. And there's this kirtan going on. And I'm chanting out a pair of kartals, and all of a sudden, I feel flowers falling on my... And I opened my head, and Prabhupada is standing on his Vyasasana. He grabbed the flowers like this, stood up, reached over and dumped them on my head, right in front of everybody. And everybody else is just like, and I was like in shock. And they just like that. And then he sat back down. Now usually what he would do is throw flowers to everybody. He didn't. That day he didn't throw any flowers. He grabbed a bunch, stood up on the Vyasasana, dumped them on my head, and sat back down and continued. So it's quite a shock to those people who were laughing at me for doing some service.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Purna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpade, Gopisha, Gopi Kanta, Radha